from the Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View.
Good Sunday morning, everyone, and happy Mother's Day. Certainly hope your day is getting off to a wonderful start. Welcome to Capitol View. Arkansans making major headlines across the nation this week. For one, Senator Tom Cotton, he'll join me a little bit later this morning, talk about being the one in that 98-1 vote you see there. He'll discuss Iran, ISIS, and life as a new dad. But we begin in a town called Hope.
Folks, it is a long way from a little brick rent house on 2nd Street in Hope, Arkansas, to the White House.
On Tuesday, Arkansas native son Mike Huckabee made official what we've known for some time right now. He wants to run for president in 2016 and is doing so. The Republican former governor knows what it's like to run a campaign, and although his base is ready to support him, the landscape is a lot different than 2008.
Thank you.
The so-called other man from Hope soaking up the love from his hometown crowd.
Thank you.
And in turn giving them what they came out for.
That I am a candidate for President of the United States of America.
The two-term governor launching his second bid for the White House with a message of optimism.
We need the kind of change that really could get America from hope to higher ground.
Huckabee seeing his own higher ground, heading to Iowa, the state that propelled him to the front of the GOP pack 7 years ago.
I love Iowa a whole lot.
But this time he faces a deeper field of Republican candidates and a Democrat many see as inevitable. Mr. Huckabee came out swinging indirectly against the Clinton and Bush brand names.
I don't have a global foundation or a taxpayer-funded paycheck to live off of. I don't come from a family dynasty, but a working family.
And against the many sitting senators and governors set to enter the race.
Then at least have the integrity and decency to resign the one that you don't want anymore and to pursue the one that you decided you'd rather have.
Huckabee has his fans, young and old.
But he's just awesome. He's just awesome. If I had enough hands, I would raise 1 million of them for Mike.
But also has his detractors on both the left.
There's a sense of like, well, people who live on the coast are not real.
And the right.
Why do conservatives oppose Mike Huckabee?
Huckabee has a lot of work to do to separate himself from the GOP pack, but he's got a built-in base of social conservatives who are buying what he is selling.
And we are now threatening the foundation of religious liberty by criminalizing Christianity. We will no longer merely try to contain jihadism. We will conquer it. Israel will know, as will the whole world, that we are their trusted friend.
If we get someone like him in there, we can change this country around, put it back on its level feet.
And with your help and God's, we will make that journey from hope to higher ground. God bless you.
And from there, it was to a pair of early primary states that treated him very well the last time around. First up, Iowa, the Hawkeye state, the site of his first victory in 2008. Of course, some things have changed in that time, but what hasn't changed? Huckabee's skills in retail politics, one of the best out there. He continues to draw crowds, including many who traveled from Arkansas to see him in the first Nation Caucus state. We're going to check in with our reporter who was with Mike Huckabee in Iowa a little bit later in the broadcast. Mr. Huckabee raising eyebrows for a comment made during an introductory campaign speech on Tuesday. He asked supporters for small donations when he then said this.
Now, rest assured, if you want to give $1 million, please do it. But I know most of you can't.
Now, even though that certainly was a joke, that apparently a violation of federal election law. Federal candidates can ask supporters for money, but can't solicit more than $5,000 for their own campaigns and can't collaborate with in any way with a super PAC, which can accept larger donations. Coming up after a quick break, Congress looks to have a say in the Iranian nuclear negotiations, but that's not enough for Arkansas's Tom Cotton. He's going to join us to discuss why he was the lone no vote on the bill this week. You're watching Capitol View on this Mother's Day morning.
Here in Arkansas, severe weather can move in quickly. And when it's time to seek shelter from the storm, you don't want to be out in the storm. That's where Royal Windows and More can help. Take a look at our new in-garage, in-ground storm shelters. You don't have to run to an outdoor shelter when bad weather rolls in. Just step into your garage. Our popular storm shelter designs are all steel, installed flush with your concrete garage floor. And our guys get the job done in less than 1 day. We have sizes to fit anywhere from 6 to 12 people with easy entry and exit. These are EF5 rated tornado shelters that exceed FEMA standards and are backed with a lifetime warranty. Don't be caught out in the storm this severe weather season. Call now, receive a $250 discount certificate on your new storm shelter. Payments as low as $99 a month. Call Royal Windows and More today at 1-800-848-5426.
Little Rock Audiology, your home for Resound Links, the world's smartest hearing aids. Little Rock Audiology. Visit us online at littlerockaudiology.com or call 664-5511 today for an appointment.
For more info on this great Arkansas professional, go to arkansasmatters.com.
Absolute Rocky Bayou Creek Land Auction, Wednesday, June 3rd at 12 p.m. 260 acres offered in 3 tracts and combinations. 95 acres in improved pasture and 165 acres in hardwood timber. 1 mile of Rocky Bayou Creek frontage. Located on Wild Haven Road, just off Highway 14 in Mountain View, Arkansas. Also selling 3 rental homes. Everything sell regardless of price to the highest bidder on auction day.
Sold it, sold it, sold it, $1,750,000. Interstate Battery has a battery for your every need. Watches, cell phones, and yes, car batteries too. Our friendly, knowledgeable staff is located at 2020 Landtrip Road, right off at 167 in Sherwood. Interstate Battery, every battery for every need.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View, everyone. Joining us from Washington, D.C. this morning is Senator Tom Cotton. Senator, thank you very much and welcome back to the program.
Hey, Bob. It's great to be on with you again.
Real quick, been doing anything interesting up there? And naturally, I jest because you have been you've been very busy. We want to get to as much of it as we possibly can this morning. First up, on Thursday, the Senate voted on a bill to give Congress oversight in the Iran nuclear deal. The vote 98-1. You're the lone no vote. First, why don't you explain the opposition to the bill?
Well, Bob, I'm afraid this legislation is not going to give Congress the oversight that it needs, and in the end could allow President Obama to claim that Congress blessed a very dangerous nuclear agreement with an Islamist terrorist sponsoring regime in Iran. Any nuclear arms agreement, especially with an adversary that sponsors terror, should be submitted to the Congress as a treaty. At a minimum, we should have an up or down vote to approve the deal. Unfortunately, this legislation turns that constitutional rule on its head, which means we have to get a 2/3 vote to block any deal from going forward. The president, in other words, only has to get 34 senators to stay with him, and he can move forward with what is going to be a very dangerous nuclear deal with Iran if it's ultimately consummated. And there's no real power in this legislation that Congress didn't already have. We can certainly bring legislation to the floor at any time to try to stop this kind of international agreement. We would have had, or this bill does prevent sanctions from being lifted for 30 days, but we're talking about a nuclear agreement that could have a lifetime of 10 to 15 years. And I just don't think the Congress should stand for this kind of constitutional usurpation by the president when we should be submitting any kind of agreement as a treaty with a 2/3 vote to approve.
Going a little bit deeper on this, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell ended debate on this fairly abruptly early on in the week, and there were reports that some members of your own party were frustrated by your efforts to add amendments to the bill. Have things changed since you and 46 of your fellow Republicans have signed that letter to the Iranian regime?
Well, Bob, I work very closely with the Majority Leader, Senator McConnell, and all of my Republican colleagues. The only reason debate had to be closed without more amendments is the Democratic Party senator's stubbornness on this issue. Senator McConnell was always going to face the same choice. Democrats were not going to allow votes on certain amendments, like the amendment I offered to ensure Iran had closed its underground hardened nuclear bunker, or that it submitted to fully verifiable inspections. They were not going to allow a vote on Senator Rubio's amendment to say that Iran had to recognize Israel's right to exist before they get relief from the sanctions imposed upon them. So I don't disagree with what Senator McConnell did. I disagree with what Senate Democrats have done to block amendments on very important policies that would have strengthened this legislation and strengthened a final deal with Iran.
And some of this leads to, we'll get to another topic here, but Christina Peterson writes in the Wall Street Journal, and this is about you. Long gone are the days when Senate freshmen were expected to keep their heads down and mouths closed for their first few months in office. Evident of that, and that leads to a headline in Washington Times. Senator delivers the ugly truth. Islamic State seems to be winning right now. Given the shooting in Dallas last weekend, not too terribly far from Arkansas, fortunately two extremists were killed, averting tragedy there. Do you feel that we have completely underestimated this group on our home turf?
Unfortunately, Bob, President Obama did clearly underestimate the Islamic State. It wasn't too long ago that he was referring to the Islamic State as the JV team. Now they control as much territory and have more wealth and have more arms than perhaps any terrorist group in modern times. And they are clearly trying to recruit Americans to launch terrorist attacks against American citizens in our homeland. In fact, it's well known that they encourage their recruits overseas in North America and Western Europe not to travel to Iraq or to Syria and become tainted by that travel, but rather to stay in their homes, plot attacks, and try to kill Americans in our homeland. The plot in Dallas is still being investigated. Whether it was Islamic State directed or resourced or planned, it was clearly inspired by the Islamic State. And the Islamic State is gaining followers around the world, in part because it is perceived as winning in Iraq and Syria and gaining more adherents to its totalitarian view of Islam and its desire to impose its vision on the world.
What's being discussed in Congress about trying to fight that or thwart that here at home before it gets to the point where these guys put on body armor and grab guns and go after folks?
Well, Bob, we have an amazing group of men and women who serve in our military and our intelligence agencies who are working day and night to stop exactly this kind of attack. Many times they're successful and Americans don't know of their successes. I do because I sit on the Intelligence Committee and the Armed Services Committee. But I can assure you that those professionals are working day and night to try to stop these attacks. Unfortunately, they're sometimes having their hands tied by executive branch policymakers, up to and including the president, who is putting too many measures in place to stop us from taking the fight to the terrorists. We should be fighting them on a home turf in the Middle East and around the world, not letting them fight us on our home turf here in the United States.
All right, I want to quickly move on to earlier this week, you also introduced the Ensuring Seniors Access to Local Pharmacies Act, basically making sure that our seniors have access to prescription drugs and services that they get at the local community pharmacy. This has bipartisan support, so I'm sure you're happy to hear that. Why is this so important?
Well, Arkansas has many seniors who depend on Medicare Part D, the prescription drug program, but also live in rural areas all across the state that are really underserved. They don't have large pharmacies like a CVS or Walgreens or Walmart. They depend on their local community pharmacist, who oftentimes is the only health care provider or expert in their community. Now, the Medicare prescription drug program can negotiate preferred rates with large pharmacies, and if you live close to one of those pharmacies, that's great. It saves you money, and it also saves the taxpayer money. What our legislation would say is that any small independent pharmacist can also join that kind of preferred network without getting any more favorable terms or prices and without additional negotiations. They simply have to be willing to accept the terms that larger pharmacy chains have negotiated, and then they can provide the same cost savings to their local customers as well as to the taxpayer in their community. And given how rural many parts of our states are, I think this is a critical improvement for strengthening health care for seniors in Arkansas.
Not that you've got enough on your plate as it is, but on a much lighter note, you and your wife, Anna, have a beautiful baby boy, Gabriel. Tell us how life is at home, not that you're busy enough, as I mentioned.
Well, Gabriel has been a great blessing. We named him after the angel Gabriel, who brought the good news, because he's certainly our little angel who brought great news into our life. And he keeps us busy. I've learned how to change diapers and use the bottle and rock him to sleep, but he's doing very well at night. Anna only has to get up once a night to feed him, so we're already happy that he's getting close to sleeping through the night, but we're just having a ton of fun. It's a true blessing to be parents to such a beautiful little baby boy.
I tell you what, I have a 7, soon-to-be 8-year-old daughter. I know you hear this from every parent out there. Cherish every moment because time is about to fly. You go into warp speed.
Well, lots of parents warned us about the sleepless nights and the dirty diapers and the fussiness. What they didn't tell us is that none of it would matter once we saw that little baby.
Absolutely, doesn't matter at all. Senator, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Certainly appreciate your time.
Thanks, Bob.
And when we come back, Mike Huckabee hits the campaign trail. Back in familiar territory. Reaction from Iowa as the former governor looks to recreate some of that 2008 magic. We have a Capitol View this Sunday morning.
Here in Arkansas, severe weather can move in quickly. And when it's time to seek shelter from the storm, you don't want to be out in the storm. That's where Royal Windows and More can help. Take a look at our new in-garage, in-ground storm shelters. You don't have to run to an outdoor shelter when bad weather rolls in. Just step into your garage. Our popular storm shelter designs are all steel, installed flush with your concrete garage floor. And our guys get the job done in less than 1 day. We have sizes to fit anywhere from 6 to 12 people with easy entry and exit. These are EF5 rated tornado shelters that exceed FEMA standards and are backed with a lifetime warranty. Don't be caught out in the storm this severe weather season. Call now, receive a $250 discount certificate on your new storm shelter. Payments as low as $99 a month. Call Royal Windows and More today at 1-800-848-5426.
Hi, I'm Missy Gibson. At John Gibson Auto Sales, we offer the newest and cleanest inventory of any buy here, pay here dealer in the state. We have financing options regardless of your past credit history. You can view online or in person over 800 cars, trucks, SUVs, motorcycles, ATVs, boats, trailers, and RVs. My family and I would like to invite you to 1425 Airport Road in beautiful Hot Springs for a test drive, or check out our website at johngibsonautosales.com and we will have your purchase ready when you get here.
I'm Julie at Ferguson's Furniture in Benton with Hunter Bingham of Stressless, the innovators of comfort.
We are endorsed by the American Chiropractic Association. We've been in business for 40 years putting people into the right chairs, and the staff here has been well trained by all the folks at Stressless to make sure that we're fitting you into the right product. However, you've got to be here to be able to do it.
Come in and take a comfort test and ask about interest-free financing. We are Ferguson's Furniture next to Walmart in Benton.
At Little Rock Family Dental Care, we take as much care with brand new teeth as we do with brand new teeth. Our knowledge, experience, and high-tech equipment allow us to offer our patients the best possible care available. Your smile will shine. Your family is busy. That's why we're open on Saturdays and available for after-hour emergencies.
With a general dentist and dental specialist under one roof and open 6 days a week, Little Rock Family Dental Care can take care of you.
Little Rock Family Dental Care. We look forward to seeing you smile.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
We want to win Iowa. We plan to win Iowa. We're going to do everything we can to win Iowa.
Welcome back to Capitol View. Iowa, the first stop on what will be a very long campaign for Mike Huckabee as he tries to reclaim that magic from 2008. We're joined now by Capitol View's Josh Berry, who was with the Huckabee campaign, the Hawkeye State this week. It has been a very busy week up there. Now you're on the road between Iowa and Arkansas, hopefully headed this way, Josh. What's the takeaway from this? What's some of the things that you saw the Huckabee campaign win, I guess, and what are some of the challenges up there in Iowa?
You know, things have significantly changed since his last stop through Iowa back in 2008. He's talked about his campaign is going to be different. The candidates that he's up against is going to be different. The last time he went through Iowa, he won Iowa. But, you know, that didn't work out in the end for him. His campaign and the supporters definitely slowed down the further they got to the last election in 2008. He says this time is going to be different, though, because he's going to raise more money. He's better well known. We know that he spent the last several years nearly every day on the radio and on television. Of course, every day as well. So he thinks that there's going to be certain things that are different this time around. There's certain things that he was pushing for folks. One theme that we definitely heard a lot this time was making sure that America fuels, feeds, and fights for itself. The folks that he's talking to here in Iowa, though, that's music to their ears. An agricultural state wants to know that whoever's going to be in charge is going to want our nation to depend on the agricultural industry rather than bringing in imports. So there's plenty of things that he talked about there. The campaign was factories, farms, and freedom. He started it off going to a factory, talking to the down-home, blue-collar vibe. It'll be interesting, though, to see how that plays out the rest of this campaign.
Hey, Josh, this time around seems to be a deeper field on the Republican side. I know last time, in 08, boy, you didn't meet anyone in Iowa who wasn't planning on voting for Mike Huckabee. This time things have got to be different. Have you run into some folks out there who say, you know what, this time I'm going a different route?
Yeah, and and it's the candidates, though, this time that really are different, because there are folks and candidates like Senator Ted Cruz out of Texas, the governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker, that are bringing to the table plenty of the same things that Governor Huckabee is, whether it be his faith, his experience. So it's being thought that some of these other candidates are going to take away some of those same voters that Huckabee had last time here in Iowa. Governor Huckabee says he still plans on visiting all 99 counties in the state of Iowa over the course of the next year throughout this election cycle. It'll just be interesting to see with the other candidates that are in the field, like the ones that I mentioned, how that fight plays out, who's going to pull those certain evangelical voters away from Mike Huckabee as far as those other candidates are concerned.
Yeah, clearly he knows he's not taking anything for granted. He knows he's got to hit it all once he gets back up there. Josh Berry on the road back to Arkansas. Thanks very much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your work up there in Iowa, Josh. And joining us now, someone who knows Governor Huckabee very well, Rex Nelson, a former Huckabee staffer. Welcome back to the show, Rex. Always a pleasure.
Good morning. Good to be here. Thanks.
I'm going to go back real quick a little bit before 08. We were having lunch with the governor at the governor's mansion in the dining room. Governor's sitting here, I'm sitting here, and you're sitting down at the end of the table. I remember asking the governor, what were his plans as far as national politics? And before he could answer, something comes out of your mouth. Hey, what about those highway bonds, highway improvement bonds? And then Governor, have you been approached by any outside, entities to run for president? And then all of a sudden, hey, Governor, Bob, and next, pass the salt. I mean, you did everything to deflect, the governor answering the question, which was your job.
Yeah, I was his communications director in the governor's office, so we were trying to keep the focus, Bob, on governing Arkansas.
You wanted me to stop communicating with him. But then we get into 08, and boy, we hit Iowa, and it's off to the races. And it was an exciting time for them. But then things we hit South Carolina, and, things were falling off. Now, we're in 15, we're back in Iowa. Where's the governor stand at this point? What does he have to do differently?
I think he has to raise a lot more money to start with. That was one of the problems in the 08 race, was that he got off to that fast start. I mean, he was on the front of all the news weeklies. That's back when it was news weeklies with an S. Yeah. I think we're down to one now, aren't we? Time, basically, exactly. As U.S. News and Newsweek have gone away. But, I mean, he was the cover boy. He was hot for a while. But you've got to have money to sustain long term, and I think that's going to be the test this time. Can he raise significantly more funds than he did the last time out?
Given the change in campaign finance, I mean, is he going to have the shot at that?
Well, you certainly have a shot now in the days of the super PAC if you can get one or two big donors. I don't know if he's got those or who they might be, but certainly you do. One thing he has going for him, though, is the name ID, the fact that he is kind of a proven commodity, if you will. Republicans have a way of going back and rewarding somebody with a nomination that has run and lost before. I mean, just look at the history, whether it's a Reagan or whether it's a Romney. I can go down the list. And so Mike Huckabee's been out there before. He's back, and a lot can happen in a field this big.
Given the field, is there some danger now running into a candidate who is offering similar things along the Huckabee campaign, but maybe just a little bit different? They can go, hey, I can go maybe a Mike Huckabee light, or even a Mike Huckabee heavy, depending on which way they want to go. Does that make it more of a challenge?
Yeah, I wish I could sit here and tell you I know how this thing is going to play out and sound smart, but I'd be lying if I did. I mean, we're a week since the Kentucky Derby, and I've been using that Derby comparison. Derby's usually about a 20-horse field. The favorite won this year, but the favorite doesn't always win. There's a lot of luck involved. Sometimes somebody comes out of nowhere, and I think that's what's going to happen in this presidential race. Bush certainly has the fundraising advantage, but I don't think there's a clear favorite for the nomination at this early point.
What do you say to the critics, too, that are out there saying, some folks want to run for president because they want to be presidents in their heart. Some folks run for president because they want to continue to be famous. And that, Mike Huckabee, he wants to write a book, or he's written a book. He wants people to buy the book. He wants people to tune into his show on Fox, perhaps following this.
Yeah, well, he's been there, he's done that. Obviously, if the goal was to have a TV show and have national radio commentaries, he just gave those up. I mean, that came out of the last race, and he gave all of that up. He gave all of that income up. Obviously, he thinks he can win these things, and he thinks he has ideas what he would do as President of the United States, or he would not have given up that lucrative media career.
When it comes to the Republican field, which I guess, who, as far as the Huckabee campaign, would consider beatable at this point, and who is their toughest challenge?
You know, again, I think there are going to be so many candidates in there. Some of them will not even make it to Iowa. They'll figure out they can't raise any money. After Iowa, you'll see a cut. After New Hampshire, you'll see a cut. And I think what he wants to be after those first early states is in that 3 or 4 candidates that are really viable after those first few weeks.
And the way politics rolls out, and we were just talking about this earlier, sometimes you're not running against one candidate, perhaps. A couple of them may be aligning against you. When in South Carolina, I know when we were covering Huckabee down there, and Fred Thompson was actively running along similar lines. He was the Southern guy, and he took a lot of votes, but you couldn't find Fred Thompson in South Carolina.
No, they called him half-dead Fred that last race.
Couldn't find his office. I looked one day, and you've got to deal with that too. I mean, so you've got to sort of build an alliance.
Yeah, absolutely, you do. And Mike Huckabee,
who would be his closest ally?
Again, it's hard to tell.
Still very early.
I mean, there are so many candidates here on this front end, and what you have to remember, about 4 years ago when Mike Huckabee was not running, virtually everybody led in the polls at one time or another. I mean, Herman Cain led for a week, Newt Gingrich led for a week, Michelle Bachmann led for a week. In the end, the guy that had run before, the guy that had the most money, Romney, played out and won the nomination. But again, this may be one of those years where about everybody leads at one week or another during the course of the campaign.
Like any campaign or any run to a primary, going to be a long road.
It's going to be a long road. This is, I know it's cliche, I know if it's oversaid, but it really is a marathon, Bob, and we're just in mile 1 of 26 miles right now.
Okay, there you go, which means we will see you again on Capitol View.
I hope so.
Rex, thanks very much for joining this morning. Certainly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We're back to wrap things up right after this. You're watching Capitol View on this Sunday morning.
Here in Arkansas, severe weather can move in quickly. And when it's time to seek shelter from the storm, you don't want to be out in the storm. That's where Royal Windows and More can help. Take a look at our new in-garage, in-ground storm shelters. You don't have to run to an outdoor shelter when bad weather rolls in. Just step into your garage. Our popular storm shelter designs are all steel, installed flush with your concrete garage floor. And our guys get the job done in less than 1 day. We have sizes to fit anywhere from 6 to 12 people with easy entry and exit. These are EF5 rated tornado shelters that exceed FEMA standards and are backed with a lifetime warranty. Don't be caught out in the storm this severe weather season. Call now, receive a $250 discount certificate on your new storm shelter. Payments as low as $99 a month. Call Royal Windows and More today at 1-800-848-5426.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
That does it for this week. Don't forget, you can stay up to date with Arkansas politics by following us on Twitter at Capitol View AR and download the Capitol View smartphone app in the iTunes App Store and Google Play. We're back next week. Have a great Mother's Day, everyone.
As former firemen, we learned the key to doing a great job was to work well together.
It's also the key to making a great sandwich.
Take our turkey bacon ranch sub, pile high with smoked turkey breast, sharp cheddar cheese, creamy peppercorn ranch, then top with bacon.
Or try our Hook and Ladder Light. Starts at just $5.49. Like all our subs, a perfect balance of ingredients working well together.
If only you and your barber could work so well together.
At least I still need one.
Please.
Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen.
Spa Auto Sales gave this guy $500 down and $250 a month deal. Here's one for $275. No wonder them boys been in business for over 30 years. This is cheaper than dirt.
What are you doing?
Oh, I didn't read nothing. Promise. Visit SpaAutoSales.com or come by for can-do financing at Spa Auto Sales Hot Springs and tell them the big man sent you.
Absolute Rocky Bayou Creek Land Auction, Wednesday, June 3rd at 12 p.m. 260 acres offered in 3 tracts and combinations, 95 acres in improved pasture and 165 acres in hardwood timber. 1 mile of Rocky Bayou Creek frontage. Located on Wild Haven Road, just off Highway 14 in Mountain View, Arkansas. Also selling 3 rental homes. Everything seller regardless of price to the highest bidder on auction day.
Sold it, $1,750,000.
It's all about early. You better get ready. It's all about early on a beautiful day. There's so much to find out. I want to know right now. It's all about early.
Start your mornings with KARK4 Today, weekdays starting at 4, followed by The Today Show at 7.